Hi, and welcome to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11. We're going to be reading from the Bhagavad Gita and talking about a fascinating topic here, and that is the topic about the form of God, the formless form, the universal form. It's going to be a very interesting discussion, so welcome, and let's dive into it. So, a lot of us have questioned the idea of God. Some of us have rejected the idea. Some have accepted it and followed our religions. And others have gone the way of spirituality. And if you ask most people what is spirituality to them, well, they really don't have much of an answer. I've tried asking around. But some people might say it's about crystals, or it's about astrology, or it's about getting to know yourself, getting to work on your wounds, healing. There's a lot of common conceptions. But if you actually look at the word spirituality, it is about spirit. Getting to know who we are and getting to know what is our source. Because only by getting to know the source of where we come from do you get to truly know who you are. There is a deep correlation between the two. Both have one thing in common: who you are and where you come from. Both have one thing in common, and that is that both are spirit, non-physical. The science of matter has been what our sciences have pursued. But in ancient times, in the Vedic times, what was pursued was the understanding of spirit, the understanding of who we are above all else. And then, of course, yes, the understanding of how this world is and how it functions and what to do here. It was an ancient and tremendous science called the Vedas. It simply means knowledge. Ved means knowledge. And knowledge, unlike what we understand it today, is not about just knowing facts and figures. It's not just about knowing information about the world or about the body or about anything else. But real knowledge, real gyan as it is called, was about getting to know the nature of reality. And reality in the Vedic sense was eternal reality, that which is indestructible. Because the world changes. The world goes through its ups and downs, and it goes through its highs and lows, and we have all that. But what is it that doesn't change? What is the unchangeable reality, the eternal reality? That is what we're here to understand. And so thank you for being here and for joining in this conversation, this discussion. I'll be reading from the Gita, chapter 11 right now, and then at the end we'll take up some questions. So hang in there and write down your questions if you have any in the comments. I'll be happy to take them up at the end. All right. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11. The unlimited form of God. So forms, of course, as you know, are never unlimited. You and I have a form. That form is limited, right? This is limited to this body. And when we think of God, we think of something unlimited. How can something unlimited fit into a form? This is the question most people will ask. How can that which is infinite have a form? And then, of course, there's other questions. If it does have a form, is that form an old man sitting in the clouds, or is it something wrathful and angry? There's a lot of stuff, and we're going to cover that all today. How does the infinite take form, and what does it all mean? How are we going to understand this? So let's begin with the Bhagavad Gita. Arjun is asking, I have heard your instructions on confidential spiritual matters, which you have so kindly delivered unto me, and my illusion is now dispelled. So they've been talking for a while in the first 10 chapters of the Gita. And Krishna has been instructing Arjun on all kinds of topics, ranging from the nature of the soul and reincarnation to karma yoga and jnana yoga, the different kinds of yogas, all of which have one goal in mind as to how do you unite with the divine. Yoga. That's what that means. Yoga is not just some physical exercises, as many people think, but it's actually about how do you unite with the divine? How do you become one with God? So he says, yes, I've heard all these things and that you've told me and telling me, and my illusion is dispelled, but I have some more questions. O Lotus-eyed One, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity as realized through your inexhaustible glories. So this is what he means by Lotus-eyed One. Krishna's eyes are known to be extremely beautiful, and therefore he's often referred to as Kamalanayan, which means lotus-eyed, beautiful eyes. So, of course, that's an artist's conception, but you can make your own conception if you so like. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see here before me your actual position, I mean, I see you as you and I see each other, I wish to see how you have entered into the cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. So Arjun is opening up a discussion or a exploration that is going to go far beyond anything. So, Krishna has been telling him he is the supreme being, that he is the cause of all material and spiritual worlds. Now, Arjun's beginning to question this further. The Vedic system does not follow a system of blind belief. It wants you to question, just like Arjun is doing over here. It wants you to be able to inquire and to inquire deeply, and no question is a bad question. So always feel free. Know this about coming to any of these kind of classes or programs, that your questions are most welcome. Arjun's questions are most welcome, and he's asking all kinds of questions. He's not willing to buy into something just because he's being told. He wants to know. And I was like that too. When I first started reading the Bhagavad Gita, I was in fact told by many of the people that were trying to explain it to me that this guy is too stubborn. He will never understand. There's no way. He's just too argumentative. Just asks too many questions. But hey, I was full of questions. I've been asking questions since I was 13 years old. And by the time I met people who were trying to explain to me the Bhagavad Gita, I had to ask them in every possible way. So we've been hearing that different stories and different ideas and conceptions of God from different religions and different teachings. Either there is no God, or God is an energy, or God is a person but lives in the clouds and has a beard and is an old man, or, well, Krishna is presenting something totally different, someone who's young and beautiful and vivacious and fun-loving and joyous, dancing, singing, playing music, fun-loving in every way, mischievous even, romantic. And he's saying, I, Krishna, am the source of all material and spiritual. Everything comes from me. So Arjun is saying, like, I'm getting kind of puzzled. How does this work? And like, how is you the person I'm seeing and who I've known since I was a kid? How are you God? I can't quite get this. It's not making sense to me. So Krishna then goes on to explain to him how he enters the cosmos. Arjun continues with tremendous humility, asking, if you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that universal self. See, now Arjun is addressing him with tremendous deference. Earlier he was referring to him as his friend. He was getting some guidance from a friend. But then Krishna revealed to him that he's a whole lot more than just a regular person. And as Arjun has come to understand that, he now speaks with tremendous respect, and with that respect, wanting to inquire. So it's not about challenging someone, but it is respectfully wanting to inquire with deep curiosity. So the Vedic system is about seekers. It's about people who really genuinely want to know, not about challenging or that's, as a 19-year-old for me, I was definitely challenging, but then I was a teenager and a rebel. And that's all right too. But a genuine seeker is inquiring not for the sake of challenging, but not for the sake of trying to prove somebody wrong or not with some agenda, but rather sincerely wanting to know. And that's the mood in which Arjuna is inquiring from Krishna. Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, Bhagavan means the Supreme Being. I've explained in earlier texts what the meaning of Bhagavan is, so I won't go into it. But the Supreme Being Sri Krishna said, "My dear Arjun, O son of Pritha, behold now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied divine forms, multicolored like the sea. See here the different manifestations of Adityas, Rudras, and all the demigods. Behold the many things which no one has ever seen or heard before. Whatever you wish to see, you can be seen all at once in this body. This universal form can show you all that you now desire, as well as whatever you desire in the future. Everything is here completely. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore I give you divine eyes by which you can behold my mystic opulence." Sanjaya said, so this whole scene is being witnessed by Sanjaya, who is narrating it to a king, Dhritarashtra. It's remote viewing, actually hundreds of miles away in New Delhi, in Hastinapur. It is being witnessed. And Sanjaya is, through mystic vision, able to see through remote viewing, and is able to narrate this to the king. So he's saying, "O king, speaking thus, the Lord of all mystic power, Hari, Krishna, the Supreme Being, displayed his universal form to Arjun." So take a close look at this. There is Arjun on the left, Krishna standing up, and behind him you see this incredible form that is stretching from the earth all the way up into the sky. Gigantic. Imagine yourself in that situation. What would it feel like to be there? Awestruck, right? Completely like you don't know what to make of this. Here was this person you were seeing a minute ago, and now suddenly there is this gigantic form. What Krishna is showing Arjuna is this, that although he is a person, he is everywhere. Not only is he in the energy of everything, he is in every atom of the creation. He is in everyone's heart, as he's been saying earlier in the earlier chapters of the Gita. But now he is showing how the entire universe is inside him. He's showing this gigantic form, and he will show and explain in statements as we go further that the entire universe is within him, that he can expand to that degree. So you say, well, how can the universe, which is infinite, fit within a being? Well, because that being can expand to be everything. Yeah. Imagine a cell within your body asking the question, how can there be a being that is so big that can contain billions and trillions and trillions and trillions of cells? The cell in your body cannot imagine that. And we, as tiny little atomic infinitesimal particles of the divine, find it very hard to conceive the unlimited nature of God. How God permeates everything. The entire fabric of this creation is God. If somebody were to ask, where is God? I would say everywhere. There is nowhere that God is not. So if you say you don't believe in God, that's fine. You don't have to believe what you see around you. But everything you see around you is made of energy. That energy, if you really dive into it and try to understand it, that energy is God. But does it mean that God is only an energy? No. God can be whatever God wants to be. So God is also seated in your heart. God is also there as a being. God is a being that is separate from this world, and a being who can be as playful as a child or as gigantic as the entire universe with its billions and trillions of stars and galaxies and everything else within it. So you say, well, oh my God, this is impossible to understand. And I understand the dilemma. It is impossible for the human mind to comprehend the complexity of God. It's okay. But at least give God the freedom to be whatever the heck God wants to be. Can we start there? All right, so here he is. This being who is claiming to be God, and Arjun is now challenging him. How do I know you really are God? I mean, you say you're God, that everything rests upon you as pearls are strung on a thread. You say that everything comes from you, that you are seated in everyone's heart. How am I to understand this? So Krishna is now trying to give him a vision so that he can begin to understand. And Arjuna was not prepared for what he just began to see. So let's go back to the Gita. Arjun saw in that universal form wondrous, unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. The form was decorated with divine, dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was garlanded gloriously, and there were many scents smeared over his body. All was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited. If hundreds of thousands of suns rose up at once in the sky, they might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. At that time, Arjun could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. The unlimited expansions of the universe. And you know what? We've all come to understand that this universe we live in isn't the only one. That there are, in fact, not just hundreds, not just thousands, but billions of universes like the universe we live in. I think the term might be even trillions, actually, but I don't remember all the facts and figures of that. But the numbers are astounding. And according to the Vedas, the entire cosmos, the entire material creation with all its trillions of universes and galaxies and solar systems and all of that is just like a tiny cloud in the spiritual sky. The rest of that spiritual universe is unlike this one. This universe is dark in nature. It requires a sun to light it up. But the spiritual world is light. Within that light are numerous planets. And on those planets are different forms of the divine. So the idea here is that you can approach God in whichever way you want. If you want to believe that God is a fearful God, well, so be it. If you want to believe that God is he's like a king and you need to bow down to God and worship God in that way, so be it. If you wish to worship God as your friend, as your buddy, as your lover, as your husband, you can have God in that form as well. Whatever way you wish to approach God, God will be there. That's the basic idea taught in the Vedic literature. And if you want God to be impersonal like a light, so be it. And if you want God to be nothing at all, non-existent, so be it. Either way, your desire shall be fulfilled. If you wish to have no God, have no God. Experience life without God. If you wish to have a personal God, one who you can relate to, one who you can connect with, one who you can depend on. If you want a relationship like that, that too is available. So again, what do you want? Really dig deep into your heart and soul. Instead of just rebelling, just know that all possibilities exist here for you. And there is no limitation. Eventually, all paths lead to God. Whether you go there through being a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Jew, atheist, you will eventually, everybody lands up with God. How? The Vedas understand it like this, like a river leading to the ocean, like many, many rivers, many tributaries coming into the river and many rivers coming into that ocean. Everyone ultimately reaches God, either in this life or another. It doesn't matter. Sooner or later, we begin to question. Sooner or later, we begin to ask about the nature of reality, the nature of life, and we land up trying to understand God. So those of you that are here listening to this, I'm sure you've been seeking in the same way. And there are some beautiful understandings for you to have in the Bhagavad Gita. This is one vision of how Krishna is there and the entire universe is breathing in as he breathes in, the universes are destroyed, and as he breathes out, they are created again. This understanding is actually becoming more and more clear with scientists who now say the universe is actually has a thin film around it, almost like a bubble. This was explained in the Vedas thousands of years ago. It is now the cutting edge of modern physics. Then bewildered, And astonished, his hair standing on end in ecstatic rapture, Arjun began to pray with folded hands, offering obeisances to the Supreme Being. Arjun said, "My dear Krishna, I see assembled together in your body all the demigods and living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Shiva and many sages and divine serpents. O Lord of the universe, I see in your universal body many, many forms, bellies, mouths, eyes, expanded without limit. There is no end, there is no beginning, there is no middle to all of this." This is what some artists have tried to depict, is what Arjun was looking at. I'm sure there is no way to know exactly what Arjun was looking at. There is no way except to try and imagine. But yeah, it's the artists have tried to convey that idea, and I hope that helps you understand a little bit about what Arjun was confronted with when he wanted to see the universal form of God. In other words, how can God pervade the entire universe? How is it possible? So now he's seeing within the form of Krishna, he's seeing past, present, and future. He's seeing everything. The universes, the planets, the demigods, different devas as they're called, all of them within Krishna's body. Your form, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs, is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, which is fiery and immeasurable like the sun. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the best in all the universes. You are inexhaustible and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal dharma, the eternal supreme person. You are the origin without beginning, middle, or end. Because these are things that Krishna has been telling him. Now he is repeating it back because now he has evidence. You see, again, this is not about believing something. Krishna has been declaring something, and now he is proving it to Arjun. The science of the Vedas is actually very much like modern day science in that there is a theory, there is an experiment, and then there is a conclusion. The same thing is happening here. Krishna has made a certain claim. Then Arjun has asked him to now produce evidence of that. And he is now giving Arjun the evidence. There's a lot of people who go around claiming to be God. We've had a lot of that, especially in India. I don't know about here, but in the West, maybe not so much. But in India, we've had a lot of people claim to be God. And their big claim to fame might be that they're able to produce a watch out of their sleeve, or some ash out of their picture, or someone far away gets healed, or somebody, I don't know, they're able to speak tell the person about their future or about something of that nature, maybe produce an object of gold. And many have questioned if such things are even valid. I mean, are they just like a magician who's pulling something out of a hat? Because magicians can do that. Yes, and maybe they have some powers, and maybe they are able to produce a watch or gold or heal somebody. But that still doesn't mean that they are God. That is not evidence that they are God. To be God, you've got to be able to create planets. You've got to be able to create beings. You've got to be able to be all pervasive. You've got to be able to know everything. And so unless you know that, unless you can do that, you do not qualify to claim yourself to be God. Now, there's many folks who go around and say, I'm God, you're God, we're all God. Well, there's a tiny, teeny, weeny little bit of truth in that. And that is that, yes, we are particles of God. We are infinitesimal. The word in Sanskrit is anksh or anu, meaning tiny, infinitesimally tiny, like atomic. Okay, we are atomic gods. Here we are talking or hearing from the supreme God who is everything. There's a difference. Anu and Vibhu, right? The infinitesimal and the infinite. That's the difference. You are the origin without beginning, middle, or end, meaning the origin of everything. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are among your great unlimited eyes. By your own radiance, you are heating this entire universe. So if someone claimed to be God, could they claim, therefore, that they were the sun, the moon, and when they were with their radiance and their effulgence, they were heating the universe? I don't think so. That'd be pretty wild. But this is what Krishna is actually proving to Arjun, that this is who he is, and this is that his claims are actually genuine. Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, as I behold this terrible form, I see that all the planetary systems are perplexed. All the demigods are surrendering and entering into you. They are very much afraid, and with folded hands they are singing the Vedic hymns. You see, if you see something as grand and massive as this, one becomes scared. It's very natural. When you see something so overwhelming to all your senses, it almost feels like you might lose your mind, or you might be destroyed. You don't know what to expect, because there's something far beyond the realm of anything you've ever experienced. So in that state, deep fear comes within us. It is very natural to become anxious, to become fearful when something so sudden and abrupt occurs. Arjun was not expecting this. And so now when he is faced with what he's asked for, the evidence of Krishna being God, he has become quite scared. And besides, because Krishna is showing him that he doesn't only just create, he has claimed earlier in the Gita that he is both the creator and the destroyer of the universe. And we talked about that last chapter, about how it is essential that the universe at some point be wiped out, because we humans especially create such a lot of mess. We mess it up so badly, we corrupt it so badly, we distort everything so much that eventually there is need for a reset. And as the creator and the destroyer, you're going to see different facets of God, some of which are fearful and some of which are beautiful. In fact, for many years, many thousands of years, people have thought of God as very fearful. Maybe they only got to see that little tiny aspect where Krishna, which Arjun is seeing right now. And let's see how he reacts to, seeing that. He gets pretty scared. So here is the picture of all the different devas or demigods praying to Vishnu, reaching out to him, that they're also afraid and terrified that what is now being revealed might be the end of the universe. It might be the destruction of everything. But that's not what's happening. This is just Krishna trying to reveal to Arjun his nature. The different manifestations of Rudra or Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Vishwadevas, the Ashwini Kumars, the Maruts, the four. You may not be familiar with these terms, but these are all mentioned in the Vedas. So he's just going through that list. And all perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. So it's not just Arjun who was seeing this, but he could now see that alien beings across the universe were also witnessing this incident. O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your many faces, eyes, arms, bellies, legs, and teeth, and so am I. So within this vision, he was also able to see all of that. And by the way, they're in the middle of a battlefield. The battle is about to start. It is before that the Gita is spoken, and this vision is shown to Arjun. So you got to realize this is not some vision in Arjun's sleep that he's having. No, he's very much awake. He is in a battlefield. The battle is about to start. He has actually been scared of fighting the battle. He wanted to be peaceful, nonviolent, not wanted to, be involved in this. And Krishna has been explaining to him about dharma and about the nature of life and death and so many things. And ultimately explaining to him why this is essential, why these despotic, maniacal, demonic people who have overrun the planet must be wiped out, just as much as we had to do when there was Hitler and when there was Mussolini and when there are some of the people we have right now. They need to be wiped out. So that's just kind of the situation that was back then 5,000 years ago. And this keeps repeating because beings like that keep coming and keep challenging the order of things and creating havoc on the planet. It's not that we have peace and love out here. It's that we have a lot of death and destruction and a lot of horrible things that happen on this earth. That's why Krishna calls it Dukhalayam, a place of suffering. How to get free of that suffering is what the Gita is all about. So in different chapters, we'll learn about that. But for now, let's go back. O all-pervading Vishnu, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid. O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings and Bhishma, Drona, and Karna, and all our soldiers are rushing into your mouths, their heads smashed by your fearful teeth. I see that some are being crushed between your teeth as well. Now, it's really important to explain this because they're in a battle that's about to start, and what Krishna is revealing to Arjun is that everyone in this battle is going to be killed, except for Arjun and his brothers, 5 of them. Both sides are going to be wiped out. This is going to be a cataclysmic war, and no one is going to survive. So Arjun is seeing the future, and he's terrified. He's about to get into this battle. His people are on both sides. His family, his relatives are on both sides. It's a tragedy that is about to unfold. But that's just what it is. As the rivers flow into the sea, so also the great warriors enter your blazing mouths and perish. I see all people rushing with full speed into your mouths as moths dash into a flame, into a blazing fire. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the worlds. You are manifest. O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. I do not know what your mission is, and I desire to hear of it. Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, Time I am destroyer of the worlds, and I have come to engage all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, and all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Therefore get up and prepare to fight. After conquering your enemies, you will enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you can be but an instrument in the fight. So you might notice something very interesting here. Krishna is not teaching nonviolence. Krishna is not talking nonviolence anymore. He was talking nonviolence. He wanted nonviolence. He was teaching Arjun and how to be nonviolent. But the fact of the matter is that people were not willing to listen. They were not willing to resolve things peacefully. And he knew that. He knew very well that that's what's going to happen. So the result is this battle. The result is that when you engage in violence, there are no winners. There is going to be death and destruction at every end. That's just the nature of war. It is the nature of battles. But in this case, it is a battle for dharma. It is a battle for being able to wipe out the adharma, the evil that has spread across the world. Just as we will wipe out any creature that is trying to harm us or our home or our country, there is a time when that needs to be done. Till that time, Krishna was trying everything with everyone possible to try and reach a diplomatic resolution. It didn't work. The other side just wanted war, and that was it. They were not going to settle for anything. I said, all right, you got it. But don't expect to win. And they thought they will because they had bigger armies. They thought they will win just because they were so proud and arrogant. And we see right now, even as we see what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, we see a small country being invaded by a big one. And so it was back then. Big, huge army was invading this small group of people. But this group had Krishna on their side. And he was the reason they won. He is the reason why all of this finally, and this wisdom was finally, and the result, the fruit of that whole occurrence is actually the Bhagavad Gita, the wisdom that we get through this and what we learn. We don't learn, it's not about war that we learn, it's not about conflict that we learn, but rather we learn about the inner conflict that goes on in our own minds and how to overcome that. Because the real battle is here. It is this inner battle that causes us to do horrible things. It is this inner lack of peace within us and harmony that causes us to create unrest in the world. If only we would learn the science of the Bhagavad Gita, we would learn how to create inner peace within ourselves. And having done that, we would no longer do things that are destructive to this planet or to each other. Krishna continues, all the great warriors, Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, are already destroyed. Simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, so this is again the person who is remote viewing Sanjaya, who is explaining to the king Dhritarashtra, hundreds of miles away. O king, after hearing these words from Krishna, Arjun trembled, fearfully offered his respects, his obeisances with folded hands, and began falteringly to speak as follows. O Rishikesha, Krishna, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and flee here and there. All this is rightly done. O Great One, greater than even Brahma, you are the original master. Why should they not offer their homage to you? O Limitless One, O Refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material manifestation. You are the original supreme God, the oldest person. You are the only transcendental refuge in this entire manifest cosmic world. You know everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are above all the material modes, O limitless form. This whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. You are air, fire, water, and the moon. You are the supreme controller and the grandfather. Thus I offer my respectful obeisance unto you 1,000 times, and again and yet again. Obeisances from the front, from behind, and from all sides. Obeisances is offering respects, bowing down. O unbounded power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all-pervading, and thus you are everything. I have in the past, and this is really a moment of real regret, because Arjun has been Krishna's friend and his buddy. Krishna's never let him know who he really is. They've played, they've hunted, they've gone and wrestled, they've been engaged in all kinds of activities, and Arjun never knew who Krishna really is. It is only now in the battle of Kurukshetra, just before it begins, that Krishna is revealing to him his real nature. And so Arjun's like, what? How is that possible? How could it have been all along that I did not know who you were? And you know, it's really amazing that we come looking for God. What we don't realize is God's looking for us. He's wanting to be with us, wanting a relationship with us, wanting to love us, wanting to be deeply connected to us. He is the love we have been seeking. He is the romance we've been wanting. He is the lover and the beloved. And once you begin to understand that, there is no need to fear God. There is no need to do anything but love God. But he's showing you his multiple facets and multiple aspects. So you begin to understand, oh, how would you like to experience God? That choice is entirely yours. So Arjun continues, he says, in the past I addressed you as, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, without knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times while relaxing or while lying on the same bed or eating together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. Please excuse me for all my offenses. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation, the worshipable chief, the spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. Within the three worlds, you are immeasurable. So the question that arises then is, why does God incarnate? And why does he come to us in this form of Krishna, which you will see? Again, I'll show you some pictures in a little bit. But he comes in this beautiful form, beautiful eyes, beautiful smile, beautiful being. Most attractive. In fact, his very name, Krishna, comes from the word akarshit, which means to attract, all attractive. He comes to attract us back to him, to make us realize that this world is not our real home, that we belong with him. And so he comes to show us his Leela, his pastimes, to show us what happens when you are with God. That it's not some boring place to be with God, that it's full of adventure and excitement and beauty. And to say, hey, come back. We belong together. You've come to this world. You've given freedom to choose between being with God or being separate from God. It's time to come home. You've had so many different experiences. You've tried so many different things. You've tried so many friends, so many lovers, so many experiences, so many adventures, so many possessions, and still you're nowhere. Come back now. It's time. That's the whole message of the Gita. Arjun continues, you are the Supreme Lord to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respects and ask your mercy. Please tolerate the wrongs I may have done to you and bear with me as a father with his son, or a friend with his friend, or a lover with his beloved. Another thing to really keep in mind is this. The relationship with God does not have to be a formal one. You know, there are people who bow down before God, who fold their hands before God, who prostrate themselves before God, who sing hymns and glorify God. That's a formal relationship. An informal relationship with God is one in which you hug God. You see God as your dearest friend and lover, in which you are no longer any formality, but an intimacy with God. There's so much to talk about that, and I will definitely do that in additional things as we go along. But I just want to bring that up in here because it sometimes becomes confusing when we think of God. And Arjun is pointing out some aspects in which now he's developing a sort of formality, but Krishna doesn't like that. He doesn't want a formal relationship with Arjun or with us. He wants that intimate, profound relationship in which you can say anything, you can be anything, you can do anything, and you will be loved exactly as you are. You will not be sent to hell. You will not be punished. You will not have to, yes, there is karma, you will have to deal with that. But that's just consequences of your own actions. That is not God punishing you or sending you somewhere. No, he's not interested in sending you anywhere. But he is interested in having you develop that love of God. Why? Because there is nothing sweeter than that. There is nothing more beautiful than that. And that's what he's coming to show us. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened. But at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as Krishna, O God of gods, O refuge of the universe. So remember, this is, a lot of people have this concept of God as being fearful. And Arjun, when he's faced with that fearful aspect of God, because you can have, if that's what you want, sure, you can have that. If that's what turns you on and you want to be with a God who's fearful and that's what makes you then obedient to God, so be it. But Arjun is more advanced than that. He has already tasted the sweetness of God. He has tasted what relationship with God looks like. And he wants to return back to that loving state. So he's asking Krishna to please, 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 please come back to the way he was, or the way Arjun has known him. O form of the universe, I wish to see your form. Now he wants in between though. Before he returns back to Krishna, he says, one more thing though before you come back. I want to see your four-armed form with helmet, club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower. I long to see you in that. This is the form of Vishnu. So he wants to see Vishnu, the Vishnu aspect of Krishna. And many people question and think that Vishnu comes, that rather Krishna comes from Vishnu. And that is not supported by the Gita. Neither is it supported in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, when it declares the different avatars of Vishnu, the Das avatar, it also states very clearly in those Das avatars when it starts talking of Krishna, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. You are God, the Supreme Being himself. So there are many avatars of Vishnu, but Krishna is the original. And the same thing is said by Krishna again and again in the Gita. The same thing is said by Brahma. Govindam Adi Purusham. You are the original being. Adi Purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship you. So here we see that Arjun is saying, I wish to see you in the four-armed form as Vishnu. And that's the form of Vishnu that he's wanting to see. Four-armed, holding a disc, which is the Sudarshan Chakra, the conch shell. And these are the disc is to protect his devotees. The lotus and the conch are there to celebrate the devotees, and the club and the disc are there to protect. Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, my dear Arjun, happily do I show you this universal form within the material world by my internal potency. No one before you has ever seen this unlimited and glaringly effulgent form. This is the first time it was done, first time it was shown to anyone. No one before you has seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charities or similar activities can this form be seen. Only you have seen this. Your mind has been perturbed upon seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free from all disturbance. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form that you desire. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, Vasudev Krishna, while speaking thus to Arjun, revealed his original four-armed form and finally his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjun. And finally he came back to Arjun in his original, beautiful, gorgeous, delightful form as Krishna. This is Krishna. Look into his eyes and you will know the beauty of God and why people for thousands of years have loved him, have worshipped him, have been mesmerized by him, have been captivated by him. Because in those eyes you will find the greatest love of all. When Arjun thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, my mind is now pacified and I am restored to my original nature. Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, my dear Arjun, the form which you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form which is so dear. The form which you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that you can see me as I am. My dear Arjun, and notice he's often calling him my dear Arjun, because Arjun is his friend, and that's the friendly relationship they have. He says, only by undivided devotion can you understand the mysteries of who I am and see me as I am standing before you. Only by undivided devotion. So devotion is not like, oh, I'm into this and I'm into that and I'm into the... No, you really want to get to see Krishna and know Krishna and love Krishna, then it has to be undivided devotion. You know, you might be, before you say get married to someone, you might be dating, you might be flirting, you might be going here and there with different people. But once you make a commitment to someone, it's expected, and rightfully so, that you will be committed to that person and loyal to that person and devoted to that person. And that's what Krishna is saying. If you really want to get to know me, then it takes unalloyed. Unalloyed means nothing mixed. You take a gold and you mix it with something, then it's alloyed. It's an alloy. It's a mixture of gold and, say, brass. But unalloyed means pure gold. So unalloyed devotion, right? Only by unalloyed devotion can you understand the mysteries of who I am and see me as I am. If that's what you seek, then that's what it takes. Krishna. One who is engaged in serving me, knowing me to be the Supreme, free from the contaminations of karma and jnana or mental speculation, who has no enemies and is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. Let's read that again. One who is engaged in serving me, knowing me to be the Supreme, free from the contaminations of karma and jnana. And he has explained in the earlier chapters how to become free of karma and jnana, or mental speculation. Who has no enemies, and this is the next step, to come to a place of equanimity, a place where you have no enemies, where you love everyone and is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. So it's important to understand the last part where he says you have no enmity, meaning you love everyone. And if you look at the Bible, it says the same thing. It says to love thy neighbor as thyself. Interesting that they're saying the same thing. To love thy neighbor as thyself means you need to love yourself and you need to love your neighbor. And who is your neighbor? Your neighbor is not just the person who lives right next to you. It's every single person on this planet, whether they have the same religion or not, whether they follow your path or they don't, whether you agree with them or you disagree with them, to still love them. It's not easy. But it is a precursor. You might ask, well, why is it a precursor? Why is it such a big deal? Why does it matter? Well, it does matter. It matters because imagine if a bunch of people were just whisked away from here, and some people say that there will be a time where we'll just get whisked away from here and we'll be brought into heaven. Really, with all your prejudices, with all your hatred for one another, with all your disagreements and your fighting and your egotistical behaviors, you're going to land up in heaven? Well, then what's it going to be the difference between heaven and hell? Heaven's going to become hell. You're going to make chaos over there. You're going to ruin it just like you did this earth. No, that's not going to work. To love God, you need to be able to love every single creature, not just every human, but every single creature, not just your dog, not just your cat, but every single creature. And when you love them, you don't eat them either. So you don't eat any animal or any human for that matter, because they're all part of God. So I'll stop with that. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear what you've got to say. So I'll take a minute to switch over and let's see what you got. Hello, welcome back. So Krishna has always existed. He says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you. He tells Arjun this, right? Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, and never will there be a time when we shall cease to be. So Krishna is eternal. And Krishna he just appears in this world just as the sun appears in the daytime. And similarly, so do you. We also appear and disappear from this world. We never die. Death is actually an illusion. Krishna's coming here and then leaving here is also an illusion, just like our death is an illusion. We are spirit beings, and therefore death is just one of these things. You know, we're moving, like if you think of the sun, right? The sun appears in the morning and then it sets at night. But is the sun actually appearing or disappearing? Only to our vision it is. But in fact, the sun is just sitting there. It's the earth that is actually moving. And it's appearing as if the sun is rising and setting. It is appearing as if we are being born and we are dying. But in fact, we're not. And likewise it is with Krishna. Krishna appears and disappears. But in fact, he's here right now. He's here in everything. He's still here. And he can be experienced without any confusion or chaos. I mean, there's no need for us to, we don't have to be confused about that. It's very simple to experience him as he is. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So let's go back to that one. I wish I had a picture ready for you, but I would have shown it, and maybe another time I'll show it to you as well. But when he appears as a baby, his parents have been imprisoned. they've been told that their child is going to kill the king, King Kans, who was a major terrorist, really, in our terms, or really he was one of those very vicious and vile kings of that time. So he had been, it had been foretold that the sons of Vasudeva and the child of Vasudeva and Devaki would kill him. So he had imprisoned them. Now, when Krishna was born, he came to them as a little baby, right? As that's how babies are supposed to be. So he comes as a little baby, but then they're worried. The king has been killing all their children. He's their 8th child. He has killed 7 of them already, because he said, well, I don't know which kid it's going to be, so I'm just going to kill all of them. And they've had 7 kids who've been killed. Now the 8th one is born, and they're scared. The king is going to come and kill this baby too. So at that point, Krishna reveals his form, 4-handed form, as Vishnu. You saw an earlier picture of Vishnu with his 4 hands. So he reveals that form to his parents. And he says, do not worry. This baby will not be killed. Now, I have made the guards fall asleep. Take him and go out. He said, but we're in jail. The jail is locked. Don't worry. The doors will be open. Go. And the doors are open. They open the doors of the jail. The guards have fallen asleep. And the father takes Krishna in a little basket, baby Krishna, and goes out. And then there comes the river, Yamuna. How am I going to cross the river? The river is raging. There's a storm. And then he goes to cross the river. And as he starts to walk in, having the trust that something will work out, he begins to cross the river, and the river is coming higher and higher and higher, all the way up to here. And then Krishna realizes his father is going to drown. This baby Krishna, he's just been born. So he puts his foot out of the basket and touches the river. And the river then subsides, because the river just wanted to have darshan, just wanted to see Krishna, just wanted to get the blessings of his feet. So at that point, the river Yamuna goes back down and makes way for the father of Krishna, to Vasudeva, to be able to cross across. Similar to kind of what Moses did. But there we have, and he goes across, and Krishna's left with the friends, Nanda and Yashoda. So it's a long story. There's a lot to read. And yes, you're right. There was another point you brought up where his mother sees the entire universe in Krishna's mouth. So there's a point where Krishna's been, he's now a young child, and he's maybe, 3-4 years old, and he's come home, and his mother noticed there's dirt all over his face, and she says, have you been eating dirt? And Krishna says, no, I didn't eat any dirt. And she knows how mischievous her son is. And so she says, okay, show me your mouth. And she forcibly opens his mouth. And inside his mouth, she then sees all the planets and the universes and the stars. She's like, huh? And she sees herself even sitting inside his mouth. And she's like completely befuddled. And then Krishna makes her forget everything, just wipes it out. This is called Yog Maya. And he makes her forget all of that. And then he comes back, and continues with his playful things. So it's very interesting that here we have a case where someone is being the mother of God. She's worrying about him. Oh, he's getting hurt. Oh, his feet are, there are stones out there. Be careful. And at times she's going to punish him with a stick. As times she ties him up. Yeah, because he's been stealing butter and feeding it to the monkeys. They're a dairy community, and they depend on that butter that they're churning, and they spend so many hours, milking the cows and churning the butter, and then their little kid comes and he steals the butter and he goes and gives it off to his friends and to the monkeys, and they're like, no. So she goes and ties him up. There's so many endearing stories. It would be wonderful to get yourself the Krishna book. It's spelled with an odd spelling, Krsna, but get it from Amazon, Krsna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you will find in there the endearing and beautiful stories about Krishna that explain his Leela, his pastimes, by which he captures our hearts. His intent is not, follow me or else I'm going to, punish you, but rather is to captivate our hearts. And that's what he's doing in the Gita. I'm sorry, not in the Gita, but in through his Leela, through his pastimes. So thanks for bringing that up. Great question. Anyone else have any questions? We have Krisha here. Anything on your side? how do you start connecting? The first thing is, like if I want to connect with you, then I got to know your name. So I got to call out to you. So call out to him. Hey, Krishna, how are you doing? Hey, Krishna, how are you doing? Interesting how your name is similar. But yeah, call out to him and sing to him and pour your heart out. You can serve him. You can read about him. There's just so many ways to fall in love. I mean, if you look at Meera, she fell in love with the great devotee of Krishna. She would hear about Krishna through different stories and different people coming by. She didn't have books. She was younger than 5 years old, but she fell in love with Krishna even by the time she was 5 years old. She had been hearing stories about him. And eventually when she saw a procession in which there was a marriage procession taking place, and she says, her mother asks her, so who do you want to marry? Just, kind of jokingly asking for the 5-year-old Meera. And Meera says, I'm already married. She said, what? I'm already married to my Krishna. She had a deity, a form of Krishna. And she says, he's already my husband. And right there from a very young age, she had heard his stories and fallen in love with him. So the idea is to be able to have that relationship here and now with God, and to recognize that this is not a relationship based on fear, but rather on sweetness. Madhuram, this is the word to remember always. There's some beautiful prayers to Krishna where they talk about how sweet his walking is, how sweet his talking is, how sweet his flute is. Madhuram, madhuram, madhuram. It goes on. It's hard to explain it now here, but he talks about how everything about him is so sweet and beautiful and tender. He is the essence of all beauty. All beauty that you see in this world comes from him. So when you see something beautiful, recognize this is Krishna. When you see all that is inspiring and incredible is Krishna. But so also is all that is negative. Don't think that it's only the positive. The light and the shadow, everything is him. We have this very, we've been given this very biblical view that God is good. You know what they did was they took the word good and they made that into God. So therefore God is good, and all that is good is coming from God, and all that is evil is coming from the devil. Evil devil. If you look at the word D, they put a D in front of it, and it's now devil. All that is evil is coming. But no, that is not the case. Everything is coming from God, the good and the bad. Everything is existing within God. And whatever you're calling evil or bad or this or that, there is a purpose for it. There is a place for it. And it is having the effect, because the idea is for us to wake up, for us to realize that this place is not the place we want to get comfortable. This is a place that is full of suffering, and it's time for us to get back to God. So there is an equal amount of pain and pleasure here. And it is important that we learn to get beyond that, to transcend that. And to transcend that happens when you come in touch with Krishna. You actually develop the ability to no longer be affected by the things of the world. It's what actually happens. Believe it or not. Yeah. So I think we will end here. I'll give it one last question if somebody has one. Oh, well, let me try. Let's try. Let's try. Hmm. Yeah. No, not yet. Not yet. Now, a lot of people would say, "Oh no, this is the things have gotten so bad that now it's a time for either Christ to appear or for Krishna to appear." And they've all got basically the same idea, that there comes a time where things get so bad that there is an intervention, and that eventually everything is reset. This idea is there in the Vedas. This idea is there in the Bible. It was, in fact, there thousands of years before the Bible was written in the Vedic literature. So the question is absolutely right on target, because we keep on going through layers of suffering, and each time we think, when is enough enough? Like, they keep trying to predict, oh, Christ is coming, oh, Krishna is coming, or this. But the Vedas actually, in the Bhagavad, actually very specifically lays out the path and shows how much, or how far the degradation is going to get. And it gets way worse than what you're seeing right now. I'm already hearing some massive predictions of how the next 10 years are going to be tremendously chaotic on this planet. We've still not seen anything like this before, just the next 10 years. But this is going to go on for a few thousand more years, according to the predictions of the Vedas. Now, if somebody's got the numbers wrong, that's possible. I don't know. I'm not an astrologer, nor do I understand some of those, things. But it gets a lot worse before it gets better. That's the bottom line. And when it gets worse, the only part to remember is this, that all of that is not happening for no purpose. It is really to help us rise to a different plane, to a plane where we are no longer affected by the sufferings of the world. Because suffering has always been there. So our purpose in coming here was the evolution of the soul. That's what needs to happen. Evolution is judged or understood by becoming unaffected by the world. And now, no matter what is going on, you're in your peace. You're in a place of equanimity. You no longer hate anyone, nor are you prejudiced against anyone. You simply understand this is all part of the Leela. This is all part of the story. And you're a soul, you're a spiritual being, and none of it can affect you. It takes meditation. The mind will not by itself get you there. Just any amount of thinking about it won't get you there. It has to be experientially felt and experienced, and that takes meditation. And the simple meditation for the age of Kali is mantra. Mantra of the mantras, the most simple and most profound mantra is the Hare Krishna mantra, which you can find online, or I can tell you, Hare Krishna. There are 3 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that is known as the Yuga mantra. For this Kali Yuga, that is the mantra that frees us and delivers us from the cycle of birth and death. It also it cleanses the heart. And Chaitanya says, Cheto Darpanam Arjunam. It clears the heart, the mirror of the heart, and clears our consciousness so that we can be able to reflect the energy of God into this world. And we're able to no longer be contaminated by the ego and the mind. So by chanting the mantra, you will find that it's one of the most powerful forms of meditation. Other forms can also be utilized, but to me, that is the essence. And I love chanting through kirtan, Kirtan. Kirtan you will find even on YouTube, you will find in different places. And the Mahamantra kirtan is the best that I find. It brings you to tears, deeply moves you emotionally. Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you for your beautiful questions. So wonderful to have you here, and look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.